Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Binge Chickens Reviews. I'm your host for this episode, Alex, and with me I have Lo. How are you, Lo?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be reviewing a new show that's only just dropped last night on Disney Plus, which is the first few episodes of WandaVision, Marvel's new show set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I guess it's their first TV show that's really sort of linking in with all of their movies. So while neither of us are self-confessed super fans of the Marvel shows or movies, we both enjoyed watching most of the movies as well. So we were quite excited to check this out and to give maybe more of a layman's review of this show and what we thought of it. So I guess, Lo, I'll probably start with you just on your general thoughts of the first two episodes that we got last night.
Yeah, as you said, we are casual fans, so we don't really know that much in depth about the Marvel universe. And I personally don't know much about Wanda or Scarlet Witch and Vision and their story. But I really enjoyed it. I liked. I'm still confused as to what exactly is going on, which I know initially when I watched the trailer, I was like, okay, it's clear they're in a TV show, but what's happening in the TV show is and that's still, I can think after watching those two episodes, still hasn't become apparent. It's starting to bleed through, but the concept's really interesting. I do like the classic television idea, and that's really grabbed me as a casual fan.
Yeah. And I think we as we sort of started watching the first episode, almost immediately that vibe kind of caught you, and you quite enjoyed how it was being presented. And we'll sort of talk about the styling itself maybe after we've gone through the plot, because I did think it's sort of fun that you've got sort of the classic sort of sitcom plots that we're getting in each of these two episodes, as well as the underlying I guess you'd call it the meta plot. It's sort of the plot outside of the TV show that we're being presented. But what did you think just of the plots that we got? Because it's an interesting sort of shtick that they've gone for, which is that it's set in this sort of sitcom world. Did it wear thin on you at all, or were you sort of? Because I guess what I mean is, like, in the first episode, the plot is essentially that Vision's boss is coming to dinner. They've forgotten, and they're not sure what the heart on the calendar represents, and it's signifying Vision's boss, who's Mr. Hart. And just as we're starting to talk about this, by the way, this is a full spoiler review, so if you haven't watched these episodes yet, do check them out. But yeah, and the plot's basically the sort of calamity that they fall into as they're trying to prepare this dinner for Vision's boss, considering Vision doesn't eat food, and Wanda's sort of trying to use her magic to get everything ready for the dinner. And I guess then the second episode, we've got the talent quest. I guess it's sort of progressed to a 60s style, which isn't hugely distinct from the 50s. And it's a talent quest show, and Vision is a magician, gets some gum stuck in his gears, I guess you'd say, and so he acts quite wonky. What did you make of those two sort of as this plots? Like, are you not paying too much attention to the underlying elements to it, but just in terms of the sitcom plots, how did you find the storylines?
They were very classic, I guess, sitcoms of those periods. Like, we were watching the two episodes, I was definitely thinking of like I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched, which I loved watching those reruns on telly as a kid.
Definitely lots of Bewitched vibes I thought in this, yeah.
But it almost also seems like a caricature of those sitcoms. Like, it was very exaggerated. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you watch Bewitched or you watch I Dream of Jeannie, there's still an element of like believability in this. I mean, even though yes, there's a genie who's doing magic and a witch who's doing magic, like, or even like I Love Lucy, those kind of things. Like, there's still this, this is a regular home life, and they're trying to fit in, and it's very much what's happening here with WandaVision. Like, they're two people with a secret who are trying to fit in normally in society, but I think the way, like, as I said, I really enjoyed the plot. They were relevant, they were funny. They weren't too dramatic. They were actually enjoyable to watch. You weren't sitting there being like, what's going to happen next? Like, it was just very much, again, that sitcom vibe. But yeah, I think it's almost that caricature or that exaggeration of that sitcom world. Like, and it came through, and the delivery of the lines, some of the jokes that he used.
The actors definitely had a lot of fun filming this, you could tell.
Yeah, the the things that are going wrong, which that's very much that trope for those kinds of television shows. There's this, oh my god, what song did they sing? And things started dancing. Deborah Jo Rupp.
Yeah, in the first episode, he was singing the song to distract his boss's wife. Yeah.
Yeah, like it was good. Like I really enjoyed watching the plots.
Yeah, I mean, I found myself laughing out loud at a few times when, it's sort of that kind of classic old school sitcoms, but still with some quite funny jokes. And in a way, I guess some of the jokes were a bit more. I mean, I use the word meta, but it's meta within the show, which is that, they are sort of playing off the fact that they have their powers and that sort of thing as well. Which, yeah, it was very I Dream of Jeannie vibes and Bewitched.
Yeah, heavily exaggerated, which I feel like, I haven't watched an episode of Bewitched or I Dream of Jeannie probably since I was in primary school.
Yeah, long time.
Because that's what I used to do when I was homesick. So yeah, a while ago. I don't remember it being that like in your face, jokey. One thing I will say, like a difference between episode 1 and 2. Episode 1 much felt like that sitcom, and like it was very contained in that world. And I know we're going to talk about this a bit later. There is that one moment where things start to be kind of questioned. This reality is questioned, but it very much is that sitcom. It's the second episode where it starts to feel like it's not, we're not just watching a season of like I Don't Know Jeannie, for example. Because then you start to get more
things.
The reality is being questioned more.
Yeah.
Like their reality is being questioned more throughout it, so it starts to become more of that drama side of thing that you'd expect from Marvel.
Yeah, and I guess, and we're going to delve into all those sorts of moments because I guess you'd sort of say maybe like 90% of the episode is that sitcom styling, and then you get that 10% where the cameras change, the music changes, the laugh track disappears, and it becomes much more the drama breaking through. But we'll get to that in a second, I guess. I mean, first, I just wanted to touch on the styling of each episode. And the first episode being, and we're sort of already talking about this, but the first episode being styled like the 50s, and then the second episode like the 60s. Presumably, it's sort of jumping a decade with each episode.
I've seen spoilers somewhere that says that the third, not spoilers, Elizabeth Olsen
preview or something.
Paul Bettany did an interview and they mentioned that the third episode 70s.
My very rough maths does tell me though that we've only got 7 decades to jump through, but I think there's 9 episodes in the season. So I will be curious to see whether we're going to get to, the 2010s and then they go, oh, this is the present day sort of essentially, and whether they sort of do something there. But we can talk about what we think is going to come later. But, in terms of the styling, I know you sort of noticed that instantly with the second episode that the house had changed and that the furniture had changed, and I guess the outfits maybe updated slightly, and Vision, I guess we don't really see him still at his job. So maybe that I'm sort of curious that we've got the supporting actors and supporting characters, and whether it'll almost be like, The Simpsons or something, where it's sort of the characters stay the same, but jobs and other things sort of just update in each episode.
Yeah. Not really like the styling. I think it was very believable, like the house. The costuming was amazing. Again, I've already mentioned on here before that I love any type of period pieces, that includes 50 stuff, historical things. So yeah, it was very much giving you that vibe of this is the 50s and the happily married couple and the newlyweds, and even down to like the dishes that were being served, things like that, like the lobster thermidor, very, very 50s. So yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch that, and as you said before, I think the actors had fun also filming it, which they
And
actually did in front of a live audience.
yeah,
So all that laughter you hear is actually meant to be, I mean, it could be added in canned laughter, but it is meant to be, they did film it in front of a live audience. And so
so they've tried to be quite authentic, yeah,
yeah.
which is very interesting. And then we get coloring at the very end of the second episode, which is sort of, as you've already said, it sort of indicates that transition that we're going to go into the 70s. And you know, it's going to be interesting to see as the style and presumably the camera work and the nature of the plots begin to develop as we go into the next decades. And look, I'm really interested to see. Probably the 90s is the one that I'm going to be really curious for, because they're clearly drawing influences from various shows, like we've said, Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. Whether we get to the 80s and we're going to get more of a Cheers vibe, maybe 90s, maybe Friends or something like that. I don't know. You know what shows they're going to draw on for the influences for each episode.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that cartoon intro for the second episode, because the intros changed each episode to obviously match the decade as well. It reminded me of Bewitched and that cartoon opening, which was great. Even I think I have pretty sure that has cartoon.
Yeah, I think that was cartoon as well. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was cartoon. It's also 60s.
I was about to say, yeah.
Which was 50 sitcoms. I think I Love Lucy more. Yeah.
I think that the only one I can think of from the 50s is I Love Lucy.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the cartoon intro. I like that it differed.
Yeah,
it was cool. I love the retro vibes.
And then underneath the retro vibes, underneath all of the great little sitcom plots, we did get sort of intense moments in each episode, and this was sort of our hints that not everything was right in the world, I guess, the town that they've moved into. And I mean, in the first episode, you sort of said we didn't get a whole lot of it. We only got that one little moment at the dinner party when Mr. Hart is choking on his food and his wife's sort of just sitting there, and it's, you know, at first she's sort of laughing along and saying, you know, "I'll stop it. And it's still very sitcom-y. And then it just becomes more and more serious. And we get the camera shift to, yeah.
Yeah, well, like prior to that, like it's the first indication that something's wrong prior to Mr. Hart choking. And what leads to him choking is Wanda and Vision being asked, you know, like, when were you married? When did you move here? Why did you move here? Where did you come from? And they're both like frozen because they don't know. And so, yeah, it's really that first proper indication that something isn't right here, and that's
which is great.
Vision are in this world, but they don't know why or how, and they've kind of got no idea of, outside of arriving at the house, which they do in the intro, as newlyweds. They don't know anything prior to that, really.
Which is great, because we don't know either. I mean, we were sort of talking before we started recording that we get Wanda and Vision in Infinity War. Wanda comes back in Endgame. We don't really know what's happening with Vision. So for us, we don't know the comic storylines. We don't know any sort of in-depth mythology behind all of this. So for us, along with Wanda and Vision, are sort of trying to pick up the pieces as we watch the show, which I think is how it's intended. I think it's very much a show that's made for everyone to be able to enjoy, and it's very accessible for everyone, where there's no expectation that you know what's going on. You're finding out as the characters find out.
Yes. And I know just from being on the internet that the question going around is, how is Vision there? Because pretty sure last time we saw him in Endgame, Infinity
War. Gem ripped out. Infinity War,
he was dead. Yeah. So
got the gem ripped out by Thanos.
Yeah, lots of questions there. So I guess they don't know either, which would be interesting.
But yeah, so so I think that theme, and it's great because you kind of get it in the second episode as well. Of in the first episode, it's Mr. Hart saying like, why are you here? Why?
And he keeps
what are you doing
repeating
here?
that question.
And he keeps repeating it.
Chokes, and then, and as you were saying, because I interrupted you before.
Sorry. And the camera work and everything, yeah.
Yeah, that's when the camera, it was almost like the quality shifted in terms of, we started getting, as you said, those different camera angles, which you don't really get in those 50 sitcoms. The vision, the background started to blur, things like that. And that the laughter disappears, as you said. So it's really that indication that something isn't right here, and then it all pops back to normal. And
we almost deliberately get a laugh track straight away
yeah,
to indicate it's popped back, and similar in the second episode with the
camera
the
angle
stereo.
reverts.
Yeah. And then the stereo in the second episode saying, Wanda, what's happening? Who's doing this to you? And I forget the name of the woman who's with Wanda who starts saying who are you? And it's similar to the why are you here? She's saying, who are you? So there's this question from all these other characters as well of who are these people? And it's very self-aware where these aren't just, two-dimensional supporting characters that these Wanda and Vision have popped into a world with. These guys are questioning them as well.
And as you mentioned earlier, we're getting the same cast members popping up as different characters in the new sitcom. So, there's a couple of the guys that Vision was working with at the office in that first episode are part of the neighborhood watch in the second episode. I don't necessarily know if they're exact same characters or not.
Yeah, one of them whose name was Norm, I think. And funny moment when they're sitting at the neighborhood watch and Vision says, Norm's a communist, and everyone just sort of laughs at it. But I thought that was quite a funny moment.
Yeah. But yeah, it's clear that these guys are also involved in this somehow as well.
Actually, that's an interesting point. Do you think that these supporting characters are almost involved in keeping, like, I guess there's two different elements to this question. And do you think that this is a world that Wanda's created to be back with Vision, or do you think it's something more sinister where someone's actually trapping her in this world?
I think it's something more sinister.
And in which case, do you think these supporting characters are actually maybe involved in it, or they're trapped with her?
The only one who I would be suspect of is Agatha, but only because she's
the neighbor.
So Catherine Hahn's character, only because, again, this is from my perusal on the internet. Very briefly had a quick look at some of the Marvel comic stuff. She's actually a character from the comics, so
right.
And from the trailer, and this is what initially got me to look up Catherine Hahn's character, so the Agatha character. I didn't look into it that much. From the trailer, I very much got vibes from her that she was meant to be the evil person in this. But then from those first two episodes, like, she was probably like the most relatable. How does anyone get through this without drinking? That kind of.
It does. It seems like, if you look at it like a Lost or one of those sorts of shows where you've got these sorts of mysteries where not everything is as it seems. It does seem like you'd have a character like her sort of keeping an eye on things and making sure that they're still trapped.
Yeah, so that's potentially what I was thinking with her. But then that was initially from the trailer. From watching the first two episodes, I got none of those vibes. So outside of the fact that she's the one that keeps showing up to help Wanda, or to take her out to do things. Which, I mean, they always have these side neighbor characters in these type of shows. So I don't know if it's anything out of the ordinary. But as I said, that from watching the trailer or the trailers, I got that vibe. So we'll see. But yeah, I definitely think they're trapped because they don't know yet. Rather than a world, I think if it was a world that Wanda created, she'd know what was going on.
Yeah. Well, unless it's sort of like a traumatic thing where it's her coping mechanism or something like that. But I guess we'll find out as we go. With that second episode moment where she's getting contacted through the stereo, which again sort of suggests that something's happening to her. She's not doing it. We do get the broken glass with the red blood. And we had earlier in the episode, she found a helicopter in her garden, which was also colored in, and it was red and yellow, which, I mean, I could be reading way too much into it to say that it looks like it's the coloring of Tony Stark's Iron Man suit. But we're starting to get
that while watching the episode, and I was like, I saw a fire department helicopter.
But everything, I don't know, but it's Marvel, so I'm like, everything's got to be a clue for something, and it would be too coincidental. But it's kind of that Schindler's List sort of vibe of having that little colored element put into the black and white.
Proper color. Well, yeah, we knew the color was coming as well, because I mean, again, we've seen the trailer, so we know roughly that they were going to be in color at some point. I think in the trailer, actually, or one of the like previews they released, they showed that scene where they I mean, that's even the cover image for this. They that transition to color, because I'd already seen that part before watching the episode. So we kind of knew that was coming. So I seeing those pops of color for me was like, oh, like they're starting to transition. But as you were saying, like we did also get that the change of like music and things like that when she found the helicopter, which indicated that maybe this is something more, because like where did the helicopter come from, or maybe because they're starting to realize something's wrong. And I think that was very much a prevalent theme through the second episode with the branch hitting the window. Like they're really like on edge and don't feel like Vision and Wanda are very on edge and don't feel settled. And like, you know, Vision's reaching out to the neighborhood watch because he's worried about X, Y, and Z, because obviously there is a discrepancy or an inability to be able to be like, yeah, we're safe, this is home kind of thing.
And I think definitely the second episode, I feel like the first is sort of our teaser into this, what this show is about, and it was very much this is the vibe, this is the theme. But then the second episode was more like, okay, we've kind of set the scene. Now we're starting to get the what's going wrong, or what is this world. And so there was a lot more overt issues, I guess.
Yeah, one thing we did mention in the first episode as well, in terms of that breaking away from that idea of the Wanda and Vision TV show, is that at the end it zoom out to like a control room.
Yes. Yes, we do get the end credits. Yeah.
Which the second episode ended and didn't fade out to the control room, but it just said that please stand by. And then the actual credits. In that first episode, we actually get that zoom out, and we have like the zoom out on the actual TV show to signify this is the end of the episode, the sitcom episode, and it zoomed out to that control panel, and there was someone touching buttons.
And writing notes in the notepad, so it's like he's observing them. Yeah,
and then we had the please stand by, which obviously is the start of the credits, as they start out the please stand by. However, because we know that Marvel is tricky in terms of putting credit scenes, you and I watched the entirety of the...
I did think there'd be a post-credit scene. There was not.
8 minute, because the episodes are roughly 22 minutes long, like 8 minutes of credits, and so we watched like the post-credits, all the credits, thinking, oh, it's definitely stand by, there'll probably be a post-credit scene. There's not.
And I think the second episode was slightly longer. I think it was maybe 25 or so minutes, but the first episode was just the 22 minutes. Right before the credits, though, we did get Wanda discovering that she was pregnant, and we then got the scene where they again heard commotion outside, and we got a man in a bee suit emerging from the sewer. So that was very much, and that gave me very strong like Lost or something vibes, where you've got what even is this? What's going on? I have no idea.
Who is this person?
And Wanda clearly had the same vibe as us and just basically noped it and did a rewind. And I don't know if that was, so I don't know if that kind of signifies that Wanda then had some sort of control over the environment, because she was able to basically reverse it.
I found that very interesting too, that she was able to say no and it just rewound. Wow, past tense. To when they've just found out she's pregnant, which was also another whole thing. Just she looks down, it's like, oh, there's a baby belly.
So it's almost like the time span in these episodes, that yes, it's a 22-minute episode and it's a single event, like they're performing in a talent show, but it's almost as if the whole decade is actually taking place, or maybe not the decade, but like a significant period of time is taking place within the episode, in the sense that like, she just looks down and suddenly she's 5 months pregnant, I guess. I don't know.
There was actually a lot happened in that second episode, because you had the Wonder and Vision like being introduced at the beginning, and practicing for the talent show, And then they had the nighttime where the branch was hitting the window, and then we had Wanda go to that meeting, and we had Vision go to the other meeting, then we had the talent quest. Like, a lot actually happened in a very short amount of time. And then her finding out that she's pregnant. I mean, I did enjoy that. It was like, it's for the children. All the children were popcorn, and then Vision being like, hang on, what children? And all of a sudden,
then suddenly she's pregnant. Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. I think that's even another indication that this isn't your normal. This isn't normal. So.
And then I guess the only other element we haven't touched on in terms of the sitcom vibe was that we do get the fade to black halfway through the episode, and I sort of turned to you and said, it's funny that they've put this in even though there is no commercial break. And then lo and behold, we got a commercial break, which in themselves then had more clues as well, because in the first episode we got a Stark toaster, which apparently I've heard that the noise that the toaster makes sounds like one of the Stark weapons or something like that. I don't quite know. And then in the second episode, sorry,
commercial, I think the tagline is something about the future being
embrace the future or something.
Yeah, it was something to do about past and future, and I was like, this definitely is a link back to the fact that Wanda's now all of a sudden living in the 50s when last time we saw her was very much modern day.
Yeah. And then the second episode it's a Strucker watch, I think, and Strucker, who from my quick research was one of the heads of Hydra, and it's a Hydra themed watch as well. So we've got Stark Industries in the first episode, we've got Hydra in the second episode, as I guess sort of like conflicting, or maybe so Stark obviously impacted on Sokovia, where Wanda is from, and then Hydra, obviously one of the villains of the Marvel movies, is
sorry, you finish.
I was just going to say, so it's almost like the two sort of, and it's going to be interesting what we get in the third episode, because those two certainly seem like, I guess, negative connotations in Wanda's mind, or negative associations. So to get those as the commercials, and to sort of get like little breadcrumbs of clues in those as well, I found really interesting as well.
Eggs. Yeah. The quote for this toaster was, "Forget the past, this is your future." And I was like, this is definitely a reference to the fact that Wanda's been pulled into this world. I'm assuming been pulled into this world. Like, we don't know exactly what's going on, but so
it'll be interesting to see it'll be interesting to see what sort of commercial get for the third one, because if they're sort of continuing on this theme, I wonder what other elements from the Marvel universe are going to sort of start being dropped in there, whether we'll get like a Captain America themed something, or a Hulk something, or who knows. So
I reckon we're getting Stark stuff, because I mean his dad was also an inventor, so it makes sense for the time periods as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it works so perfectly, is that you would have, within the Marvel universe, you would have like a Stark toaster, which has been invented by Tony Stark's father. It worked quite well like that, I thought. But so that's sort of the first two episodes. I guess we've sort of talked about our overall feeling for it, but where, and I guess we've already started to talk a little bit about where we think the season is heading. So, Lo, in terms of where do you think we're going with this? Do we think that by the end of the season, Wanda and Vision will be sort of self-aware about what's going on and they'll break out, or do we think it's sort of going to stay in this world for a bit longer, or what do you see happening?
I would say, there's not that many decades. I reckon we're going to get more. Like, I know there's the 70s comes up, 80s comes up. So I'm not sure when we would stop getting those decade themed episodes. I think as we go through, it makes sense that they're going to start revealing more. This isn't reality, and we'll get, I reckon, Wanda and Vision actually starting to question things more, and maybe try and break out of it. I don't know. As you said, it's a 9-episode run, and you said there's only 7 decades. So unless they're planning on going into the future,
which they could, I guess,
which they could. The other option is that, you know, we have the 7 decades and then them trying, like, realizing something's very wrong in the last episode. It's trying to escape that, fix that, things like that. But then,
because I guess the 50s and 60s is much more two-dimensional. There's not as much scope to be self-aware, but when you get more modern, I feel like there's more of a chance that they could become self-aware or find means to escape from it.
yes, exactly. I think that's where I think the season is leading. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
What about you?
So well, yeah. So I think I probably agree with you that I think looking, you know, rough maths, we've got 7 decades, so you have 7 episodes as sort of your decades. You get to your 2010s, or I don't know if they would do a 2020s one, so that would be then 8 decades, I guess. But whether you then have the last
stuck
2
inside
episodes
with the pandemic? Sorry.
Yeah, well, what's the I can't really think of any distinguishing features that separate the 2010s from the 2020s in sitcoms, but I guess the 50s and 60s were quite similar as well.
Well,
I think
yeah, we're now starting to see the pandemic bleed into things. There's a whole this is totally off topic, but someone's just come out with a TV show or a series that's about to drop, which is like basically set in, maybe it's a movie, but basically about a couple divorcing and then they get stuck together because of the pandemic. And I was like, wow, we're a year into this and we're already making films and stuff about it. So who knows?
I don't know when this was filmed. I feel like it would have been pre-pandemic, so we might
not
get
over. So they had filmed some of it prior.
Right.
I think they filmed the first episode prior and started the second episode, and things got shut down because Paul Bettany was saying in an interview that going back onto set and back into that second episode with the talent quest and things like that was really nice, like going back into that world, and really kind of signaled that things may be sort of normal, not really. So,
wow, so most of the season was filmed essentially during the pandemic, so we could get some sort of vibes, maybe not, maybe they might be looking for more of escapism, but so look, I probably agree with you. I think we'll probably get the last 2 episodes as them trying to break out. It's sort of like I don't know if you ever watched there was Legion, which was I guess sort of set in the X-Men universe, where it was Professor X's son was in a mental asylum, so you got very weird episodes for the first 5 or 6 episodes of the season, and then he's sort of realizing where he is and breaking out. And so I feel like it could be a similar vibe here, where we get our weird sort of on-brand episodes for the first 5 or 6, and then trying to break out at the end. Because I feel like if we're already episode 2, we're already getting a lot of vibes that something's wrong. If it's going to just keep escalating like that, they're going to be quite self-aware quite quickly, I think.
Well, Wanda's already definitely aware something's up. Vision's not as of yet, so I think maybe next episode it might be Vision who starts to then question things. So we will see. I mean, any speculation as to who the person in the pothole might have been? The guy with the bees?
See, I don't. It's hard to know because you could look at it in 2 ways. Either because he's being painted as a very ominous person, you can either look at it as he's going to end up, or he or she is going to end up being the villain of the piece, or it's someone trying to break in to rescue them.
Yeah, potentially. I know looking at the cast list, there's some characters who are meant to be appearing that we haven't seen yet. So I was maybe leaning towards them because Kat Dennings and stuff is in it, so, and we haven't seen her yet. Just like faces that we know from other shows and things.
I think there was a quote from Paul Bettany. Yeah, Paul Bettany saying he was really excited at the chance to act alongside somebody that he was looking forward to acting with. So perhaps there's a surprise cast member as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's pretty good cast in terms of there are like familiar faces.
But as in, I think he was saying it in like he couldn't reveal who it was because it'd be a spoiler.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I know I'm blanking on his name. I think it's Jimmy Randall from Fresh Off the Boat. He's in a whole bunch of things. He's also meant to be in it as well.
So he was in Ant-Man.
Yes.
So okay, so it'll be interesting whether it's sort of as a new character or if
it's. Kat Dennings was in Thor, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
I'm showing my
playing the same character.
Right. I'm showing my lack of Marvel
I watched the
knowledge
first Thor movie and have seen Ragnarok and nothing else. So
I love.
happen to have
I know,
watched the one movie she's been in.
I do enjoy that first Thor movie. I know it's not everyone's favorite Marvel movie, but it is. I do quite enjoy that one. Cool. Okay. Well, I guess that sort of wraps everything up. I guess the main question is, has the show been engaging? Oh, yep.
Something else I wanted to add in. Because they filmed that first episode in front of a live audience, all the magic she does is all like puppetry. So they very much went into the style of the
50s. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that's so cool. So they actually filmed it as a proper 50s sitcom, which is awesome.
When they did the plates, she was flying the plates around in that first episode. It did feel very like very genuine,
believable. Yeah.
But so have the first 2 episodes been enjoyable enough for you to continue watching?
Yes, I wish they dropped the whole season at once so I could have watched all 9 episodes. I would have happily done that yesterday if it was available. So I want to know what's going on, but I also love the aesthetic of like being set back in time, and yeah, definitely will keep watching.
Definitely will keep watching for me as well. Yeah.
A Marvel film, text, whatever I can actually get on board with. So yeah.
And look, like we started by saying, I actually find the plots themselves quite fun. Like not everything has to be, CGI explosions and shootouts and action pieces and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
You can just have a fun little sitcom as a show.
Quest moment was fantastic. I was laughing so much.
I think Paul Bettany is the drunk. Yeah.
Drunk on gum. Vision and Wanda having to try and work with that was great.
Yes.
And it was very much those laughs without having to push the boundaries and be entertained without having to be also, as you said, explosions and gunfire and things like that. We don't need stuff.
Yeah. So look, I think we'll keep watching the season. I guess we'll sort of play it by ear. We'll either release reviews as we watch it. Like if each episode is great and there's heaps to talk about from each episode, we might do a review after each episode, or we might do them every second week when we've got the 2 episodes like we've had with last night's drop of 2 episodes. When we've got 2 episodes, there might be a bit more.
2 per week?
No. It's only going to be with the one each week.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah. So look, we'll see how we go. We'll see what the next episode is like, and whether we're back with another review next week. Otherwise, as always, we'll be reviewing something. Binge Chickens is always something for us to binge and to talk about. Mm-hmm. So keep tuned for all of our new content, and if you haven't yet, go check out our old videos. We've reviewed a wide range of things. We've got a Bridgerton review of the season 1, which was really great fun to record. As well as reviews of the Doctor Who New Year's Day special and the final episode of the 2nd season of The Mandalorian. So there's something on the channel for everyone, which would be great if you can share the videos, give them a like, and comment. What did you think of the first 2 episodes of WandaVision? Would be great as well.
You can also find us on all social media pages, except Facebook. We don't have a Facebook page, but like
we
Twitter,
have the link
Instagram,
in the description. Yeah.
We're at the Binge Chickens, so easy to find. So give us a follow.
Very easy to find, yes. So it'd be great. And all the episodes are on audio as well on Spotify and most other places that you can get your podcasts as well. So audio versions also available. But until next time, thanks for joining me for this episode, Lo.
That's all right.
No worries.
We'll
we'll see everyone next time.